Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to catch up on the latest with the retained EU law bill, now that Sunak's government has finally revealed how it intends to stop it from completely destabilising the economy and destroying the party's reputation, maybe forever. The problem is that the bill now exists in a form which doesn't really make anyone happy, as far as I can tell. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So it's now been revealed that the retained EU law bill will not now destroy thousands of rules and regulations overnight at the end of the year without any proper audit or debate taking place as to whether it's a good idea or even which rules and regulations will be for the chop in some cases. The new version may still obliterate up to about 800, all being told. The hardcore Brexiteers are complaining that it's not nearly enough, even though they have been unable to name a single rule which should be purged. They refer to them as redundant EU rules. Now, it is entirely possible that some of these legacy EU regulations and rules are indeed redundant now. That is possible. Small number maybe. But not a single Brexiteer champion in this bill has been able to name a single one, much less make a case for the thousands they want chopping. In fact, I am still in two minds as to why the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's the original author of the bill, wanted this ticking time bomb to pass through Parliament at all. You might say that destroying all of these rights and protections would help him and his ilk make tons of extra cash. Maybe. But the ones with a brain must have known that the consequences of the bill passing in the original form would have been as follows. First, every serious economist and business leader attacking the government has been quite literally insane. At a time when Labour is already ahead of the Conservatives on the economy and Starmer has just nudged ahead of Sunak on the one-to-one on the personal basis. Second, another economic crash and an even greater risk of a run on the pound than when Truss was allowed to pretend to be Prime Minister for a few weeks. Third, it would have meant tens of millions of workers all losing their rights to paid leave, maternity, paternity pay, various rights to a safe working environment and so on. None of these seem optimal for a political party which, even if they think they're likely to lose power next year, would still like to return to government at some point during the next century. This would not just destroy any chances the Tories have of doing well in next year's general election, but there is no way that the public would trust them for a very long time to come. Like, imagine the situation. So imagine Labour in government, they restore all these rights back. And people go, oh, we've got our paid annual leave back. Great, nice one. Do they think in a few years' time, when the voters are getting a little bit, dissatisfied with the party in power, they'll think to themselves, well, surely the Tories wouldn't take our rights away a second time. Let's vote for them again. No, it just doesn't seem feasible that so many hardened Eurosceptics really wanted this bill to pass. It would have been, in the long term, ridiculous. Like maybe some of the dimmer ones, but not the majority. So what's the alternative? Why push it so hard? Well, because it's an excuse, isn't it? They say that the point of Brexit was not following EU rules, that if we leave the EU but keep these EU rules in place, then we didn't actually Brexit. So whenever people like you or I point to the serious damage being done to the country, particularly the economy, due to Brexit, they will just calmly reply, well, you kept all the economy shrinking EU rules in place, didn't you? You of the anti-growth coalition. Never mind that all the continuing EU members also have those rules in place, plus more besides, and are not suffering the catastrophic drop in living standards that we are. They know that most people aren't able to draw international comparisons. Never mind also that we could say to them, well, name me a rule you want removing then. And they're not able to. Doesn't matter. They're not going to ask me. You get the feeling that they pushed this bill knowing full well that no sane Prime Minister would ever actually let it come out the other side intact. As a ready-made excuse for later. I wonder if they were a little bit concerned when Liz Truss became Prime Minister. Imagine if she'd been around long enough to see this through. Mind you, they probably imagined that the House of Lords would at least stand firm on the crazier aspects of the bill. In a way, we'll never know. Although the House of Lords has certainly been incredibly hostile to the bill, Sunak announced right at the start of the year that he expected it to be amended a lot before the process was finished. So he'd already given up months ago anyway. So we'll never really know what would have happened with a certifiable lunatic trying to ram it through Parliament in one piece. In announcing the compromise, Kemi Badenoch, who's now the Secretary of State delivering this legislation, said that the plans to improve old EU laws can't be rushed. Oh, it's nice to hear that our approach to repealing laws should not be simply rip pages out of the statute book whilst drunk and blindfolded. She said that they want to streamline regulation but not get rid of things for the sake of it. She suggested it would be done line by line. In which case, why not scrap the whole bill and have ministers present individual bills for repealing redundant rules to Parliament, in the normal way, in the way we've been doing for centuries? Because although this U-turn from the government has removed an alarming amount of crazy, it still represents ministers being allowed to remove rules which Parliament voted for without consulting Parliament to check that they're cool with it. If Parliament votes to put rules in place, it should be Parliament who votes to remove them. And we should have a record of which MPs supported the repeal of certain rules. This is important not only in making sure that the final decision is transparent, but also that the public have a chance, ahead of any vote, to give their views on the matter to their MP. Having ministers decide, away from prying eyes, even if they are now going to proceed more cautiously, means that we will never see transcripts of the main discussion points, as we would if they were parliamentary debates and committee reports. Rules will still, as far as I can tell, disappear without us ever knowing why. We'll also not find out that any rules have even been removed until a minister can be asked to tell us. As far as I can see, this bill isn't really for anyone anymore. It is quite normal, of course, for a controversial bill to be amended in order to achieve some sort of compromise, but it still results in something that makes some people happy, that delivers on what the original authors of it sort of wanted. Well, this hasn't. This was a bill written for extreme Brexiteers, but it's upset extreme Brexiteers because it doesn't turn Britain into the pirate haven they were hoping for. In any form, it won't impress business leaders, Remainers or softer Brexiteers, because it still means some rules being removed without proper scrutiny, perhaps even without much advance notice. Literally, the only purpose of the bill now, as far as I can see, is so that Sunak can say he's delivered it. He's already U-turned on his promise to abolish all these legacy EU rules within 100 days of becoming Prime Minister. Given that he can be attacked for the emerging form of this bill from all angles, what's the point? All I can imagine is that most of his MPs wanted him to pass it in some reduced form so that they can lie to their constituents about what it does, but they didn't actually want it collapsing the economy because some of them still have ambitions to remain MPs after next year. In the meantime, according to the Trades Union Congress, the government have at least confirmed that workers' rights will not be amongst the maybe 800 rules and regulations that will now get chopped. Still, would you trust a Tory government to say that and be telling the truth? But even if it is true, still doesn't tell me which rules they are looking to remove, when they're going to do it, what notice they will give to people, and how much information they will provide as to the reasoning for removing them. So the workings of the bill still appear to me to be too opaque to keep sensible people happy, and nowhere near crazy enough to keep the Brexiteers happy. In short, a typical example of Rishi Sunak legislation. Doesn't do anything to satisfy anyone, wastes a lot of parliamentary time, and just annoys all interested parties. But there we are, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships, and until next time, I'll see you later.